Good afternoon. 5 years ago to the day, I was on this stage, and ConnexPay won as the most innovative startup of 2018. I'm proud of that, and since then, we've helped a lot of travel companies with their payments processes, and we're excited to help many more. I had to be interviewed by a panel to be up here speaking to you today, and I told the panel I was going to stir the pot a little bit, that I'd likely make a few in the audience a little uneasy. So hang on, and here goes. We're going to walk through a travel scenario today with Tyler, an OTA from Great Golf Getaways, and George, a golf fanatic. Every year, George books a trip for him and 3 of his buddies. In the past, he's always booked directly with the airline, directly with the hotel, and directly with the car rental company. Hey, George, where are you guys going this year?
Pinehurst, Bob. 9 courses, sun, Carolina hospitality. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Awesome. And George, are you using an OTA or are you booking directly again?
Hey, I did something really smart this year, Bob. I'm really trying to upgrade our trip. I used an expert, Tyler at Great Golf Getaways. He's going to be able to book my air, our hotel, and he's got some great tee time packages as well. It's really coming together well.
It makes sense. You know, consumers are using OTAs more and more. It gives them a one-stop shop where they can compare prices and make their travel decisions. Unfortunately, there's still some challenges, and we're going to walk through one of those today as George books this trip with Tyler.
Great Golf Getaways, this is Tyler. How can I help you today?
Tyler, hey, it's Birdie George checking on my trip. The guys are super excited. How are things looking?
Birdie George, everything's going great. We're even able to get those upgrades you requested. All that's left now is the payment. Got to pay the hotel, flight, car rental. Do you happen to have that card ready?
I've got it right here.
Stop, everyone freeze right there. This is where the problem begins. Tyler's about to write down George's credit card number on a piece of paper, hardly PCI compliant. Worse yet, less than 50% of the time does the OTA actually process the traveler's credit card. Let me repeat that. Less than 50% of the time does the OTA actually process the traveler's payment for the cost of the booking. Well, why is that a problem? For starters, OTAs spend billions of dollars to get customers to come buy from them. The average customer acquisition cost ranges from $20 to $50 per traveler. Yet when it comes to arguably the most important part of that relationship with that traveler, the payment, they turn them over to the airline or the hotel on a silver platter. It's crazy. I can't think of another industry where this happens. When I go to Amazon and I buy a pair of Nike shoes, Amazon doesn't take my credit card and pass it on to Nike. No, they want to own that customer relationship from beginning to end. They want to be responsible for changes, refunds, etc. Let's go back to the numbers for a second. Any OTAs in the audience know that margins in this business are very thin. You incur all that cost to get that customer, and then you effectively say goodbye to them when it comes to the payment because you no longer can service them. Let's think about it from George's perspective. He went to the OTA for a reason. He wanted a one-stop shop, but yet when it comes to the payment part, he doesn't get it. His credit card ends up being dispersed in multiple systems, putting it at risk of being stolen and fraudulently used. And worse yet, if he does need a refund, he has to now go back to every individual provider. So Tyler, I know I sound frustrated, but does any of this make any sense to you?
Yeah, no, it does, Bob. And I would love to be in charge of my customer's payment process, but isn't it expensive to process their card?
So it is, and here's why. Banks hate travel companies. They literally put travel in the same risk category as online gambling and online pornography. They don't like the future delivery component of the business, so it means high reserves, limits on your account, and certainly above average costs to accept credit cards. It was this pain that I experienced for 20 years as a banker. It bothers me so much to watch the pain that travel companies went through that I left to start ConnexPay. At ConnexPay, we fundamentally remove that risk from the transaction. We give you one system to process the traveler's payment, do a fraud check, authorize that payment, and make a payment to the supplier, all in real time. When done right, you can actually do this in a profitable way. You might say, sounds too good to be true. Well, it's not. It's why we're here today. We recently raised $110 million to take our product global. We're now live in 30 countries, including the US, Canada, the UK, and the entire Eurozone region. Now, for you travel suppliers in the audience, you airlines and hotels and others, let me tell you why this process is best for you also. By definition, you're focused on giving great travel experiences. Also, by definition, you're incapable of providing the booking experience that company or people like George want. I will tell you also the cost of processing cards from OTAs, studies have shown are on par or less than processing the consumer's cards directly. If I haven't convinced you already, let's look at some data MasterCard released just earlier this year. OTAs that acted as merchant of record between 2020 and 2022 grew at a 43% rate. That's more than twice that of the industry as a whole. As I think about the theme of this show, we're all challenged with using technologies to improve our businesses. You need to do the same with your payment processes. ConnexPay has helped over 100 travel companies improve their payment processes, and we're excited to help you. Thanks for your time, and I hope to see you at our booth.
Thank you, Bob. Audience, thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think of ConnexPay's approach to payments?
Right here, Bob. Let's see. Audience, stick your hands up high. Looks
Come
like
on,
I see
greens,
mostly
greens.
greens. I don't see any reds out there.
The
Focus group.
Greens, come on. Thank you.
All right, mostly, well done. I think we saw all greens. Who wants to jump in first?
I have a quick question. I worked with a client on understanding what it takes to become a merchant of record. It's quite complex. So do you take on all of the components of that merchant of record through this solution? The liabilities, regulatory, all that other thing?
We're a payment processor really no different than a Stripe or Adyen
Okay.
or Elavon or any of those. The difference with us is we make it easy. We don't require any reserves up front. I won't get into all the details, but because it becomes a lower risk transaction by having visibility from the payment in all the way to the payments out, it removes that risk for the banks that are behind all of us for processing these payments. It allows us to offer that capability at lower cost, and we pass those savings on to our customers.
Susanna?
Yeah, so when you are passing through the payment real time, this is at the time of like acceptance, it's like all the way to the payments of the providers. Is credit risk of the providers a concern that you need to manage?
It's not. So for us, we give real-time access to those funds. With all other merchant processors across the globe, when you process a payment from a consumer, you wait a few days to get your money. Take on a Friday afternoon. If Monday's a holiday, you probably don't get your money till Tuesday or Wednesday from your merchant processor. That creates problems when you have to pay an airline, right, on Friday, or a hotel if you're buying a prepaid rate. In our model, we're the only ones in the world that does this. We give real-time access to that money. So if it's Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, you process the consumer's card, Friday at 2 o'clock, you get access to those funds. And so that avoids the need for credit and those types of things.
Do the OTAs own any data, or how do they manage the relationship with the end consumer, or do they depend on you?
Well, you know, I would argue that's, again, one of the values of owning that relationship. There's so much value there. And the OTAs spend all this money to get to customers, and then they just hand them over, right? And it's one of these things that's been going on in the industry for decades, and the pandemic was a big impact to start to change that, because when consumers needed to cancel all their trips, they found out that the OTAs couldn't help them, right? Because they didn't process the payment, and it made a lot of consumers very frustrated. Booking now acts as merchant for over 50% of their transactions, and that's growing.
Great. Chris, real quick.
One last question. So can you unpack the innovation here a little bit and just tell us technically what is the most important piece of your technical stack that enables you to do this?
It's truly the true connectivity of all money in and money out in one solution is the short version.
Okay.
Great. Well done. Bob?
Thank you, everybody.
Mike?